Nearly 25 years ago, Hyundai introduced the brand's first ever SUV to America called the Santa Fe. Now at the time, the Santa Fe was a little late to the crossover party, and it was designed to go head-to-head against vehicles like the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. Now over the years, the Santa Fe has continued to grow in size and price category, which brings us to the all-new version that Hyundai is introducing for 2024. This is the 5th generation Santa Fe Calligraphy, and as you can see from the exterior design, it looks nothing like the previous generation, with Hyundai designers clearly taking some inspiration from vehicles like the Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon and Land Rover Defender. So to finally get behind the wheel of this all-new Santa Fe, the company has brought me out to Franklin, Tennessee to finally experience this vehicle. And as you can see, it's got an all-new look on the outside that's bolder, more rugged, and more masculine. And it's also considerably larger, giving this vehicle a standard third row for American families. So the big question I want to answer for those of you who are looking for a family-style SUV with the kind of rugged design and capability that you're looking for in a much more expensive vehicle, how does the all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So clearly there are a lot of styling changes to talk about with this all-new 5th generation Santa Fe, but before we start talking about that, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain choices for this vehicle, because here in America, Hyundai has decided to simplify some of the engine choices, but mostly you're going to be dealing with a carryover powertrain. Hyundai claims about 50% of owners are going to probably choose the gas-only version, which is the engine that I'm showing you here. Now underneath this hood, you guys should be pretty familiar with this powertrain. Essentially, this motor was introduced in the previous generation Santa Fe back in 2021. It's the company's 2.5-liter gasoline direct injection smart stream turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. The powertrain is now rated as a super ultra low emissions vehicle, which did result in a slightly less power versus the 2023 model of this engine. Now it's rated in this car at 277 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. Those are still pretty healthy figures. The company decided to discontinue the non-turbocharged version of this engine in the US, and that's because the new Santa Fe has gotten larger and much heavier. It all goes out through a one-choice transmission, an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. It's a wet dual-clutch transmission. The company's been using this form of transmission for the last few years now, and fuel economy is rated at 20 in the city, 28 on the highway on this particular Calligraphy trim. If you guys are looking at the XRT trim, that's going to be rated at 1926. Front-wheel drive is going to be standard, but the company's H-Track all-wheel drive is going to be available for around $1,800. Now, the company doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. I would estimate it'd be in the mid 6.5 second to maybe high 6 second range. It should have a top speed of around 130 miles an hour. This vehicle will also tow a maximum of 3,500 pounds. If you go for the XRT, that'll tow a little bit more thanks to improved cooling at 4,500 pounds. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 4,400 pounds. That's a whopping 400 to 500 pound weight increase versus the previous generation. But let's go ahead and close up this hood and talk about the exterior styling of the new Santa Fe. Now, I had a chance to see this vehicle in person, I want to say about 6 months ago when I was actually out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Hyundai invited me out to see it in person for the first time. And as you can see, the look of this new Santa Fe is certainly very striking. In fact, here in Tennessee, where we're kind of out in the woods right now, it almost looks very Land Rover Defender-esque because of the exterior design. You can see this particular one that I'm showing you is the Calligraphy, painted in this beautiful pearly metallic white. It's got kind of like these black Hyundai logos with their latest logo design. It's got this new Hyundai grille where you can see the Calligraphy actually has a different finish to the grille where it has kind of like a mesh style, although it's actually closed off. There are some active grille shutters down here. And then the headlights are very striking. You can see all Santa Fe's will come standard with these full LED headlights, which include an LED daytime running light and turn signal. The LED signature is actually an H. You can see it's actually an H over here, and then it forms almost like another H as it goes across the entire grille. Down here you can see there's also another H at the front end where it's kind of integrated into the front fascia with the gloss black. The integrated parking sensors are nice. You have Hyundai's latest Highway Driver Assistance 2 is going to be standard on most of the higher trims. No LED fog lights, but overall, I still think this is definitely a very striking vehicle. Some of you have compared it to something like a next generation Ford Flex, although I can kind of see that because both of the vehicles are boxes. I really see a really unique combination of a Land Rover Defender and a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon when I look at the design. Now, moving around the side profile, you can see that big, upright, and square theme continues, and Hyundai's really capitalizing on how everybody is really interested in overlanding and going off-roading nowadays. The vehicle itself is around 2 inches longer overall. In the overall length, it's around 190.3 inches long. It has a wheelbase of around 110.8 inches long. This is actually the same wheelbase as something like the Kia Sorento, which surprisingly shares an architecture with this car. The vehicle continues to ride on the latest N3 architecture, which Hyundai actually introduced on the Santa Fe back in 2021 when they heavily revised the car. That's when they switched it to the new platform. This is technically the same platform. The vehicle itself is around 2 inches wider and around 2 inches taller. So again, that's going to give us more interior space, which we'll talk about in just a moment. I do love the kind of square style to the fender flares, to the wheel arches. You can see there's a combination here of a gloss black design with the nice little painted metallic white, which looks fantastic. You can see the wheels. These are the 21-inch wheels that you get on the Calligraphy trim. They're riding on a 245 by 45 R21-inch tire. You have a 4-wheel independent suspension. And this model here has roughly 7 inches of ground clearance. If you guys want more, the XRT will raise this up by about 1.5 inches, and it'll give you around 8.3 inches of ground clearance. That's the more off-road capable version. You can see there's a nice little badge here with the Santa Fe logo. The mirrors are power folding. There's a full 360 camera with their blind view cameras included on the limited trims and up. There's also an integrated turn signal. And then you can see these roof rails. They also add around 2 inches of additional height. It's going to be included if you guys go for the SEL trims and up. The XRT will have a unique crossbar, and you can see there's a dual panel sunroof here. That's included if you guys go for the limited trim. The XRT includes a sunroof, but it's just a standard size sunroof over the pano roof that you see over here. Now you can see no chrome along the side, which I appreciate. And then over here you can see this feature is what Hyundai is calling their C-pillar assist handle. So this is included if you guys go for the XRT trims and up. It basically allows you to push that in, and it allows for like a little spot where you can grab and hold on to this area where you can basically put your foot here on the tire, and it allows you kind of hoist yourself up to get onto or get access to the roof panel. It's a really interesting design, and I like how Hyundai was kind of being clever there. You can see moving around to this angle here. This is probably the most I don't want to say unattractive, but very controversial angle of the Santa Fe. Because again, the company's design leader for this vehicle actually said that when they were thinking about the design of this car, they actually started at the rear of the vehicle as opposed to the front, and then everything else kind of just moved around the entire profile. But starting at the rear here, you can see the design is completely upright, and they wanted to do this because again, they were going with that square theme. The square theme here allowed for them to, give us more interior space, but they also wanted this to have a very wide opening. So you can see the taillights are mounted very low, and that's because of the fact that the tailgate itself opens up very large. You can see it has the same kind of H logo in the actual taillight light assembly. Light signature, which definitely gives it a very striking appearance. You can see the gas models will give you a single chrome exhaust tip over on the passenger side. The hybrids will have their exhaust tips actually hidden. There's integrated parking sensors. The reverse light is mounted down low. The turn signal and the tail light is again also mounted low. You can see it's got the new Hyundai logo here, which they introduced on the Ioniq 6. Santa Fe again is in black, which is definitely a nice touch. The spoiler back here is also nicely integrated. There's a camera here for the digital camera review mirror, and then you can see the wiper blade is cleverly hidden underneath the spoiler itself, which really cleans up the appearance back here. You'll know this is all-wheel drive because it'll also have a very subtle H-track badge there, letting people know that you have the all-wheel drive version of the Santa Fe. Now, in terms of the cargo area, this is again where the Santa Fe definitely improved because this new version is much larger than the previous generation. Now, first of all, I'm going to put this third row seat back up, which, as you can see, it's just a manual style third row seat. Now you can see a third row seat is going to be standard on this car, which kind of begs the question, what's the difference between this and a Palisade? I'll talk about that later on, but you can see with the third row seat up, you have around 14.6 cubic feet of storage space. So 14.6 is a decent amount. It's more versus what you're going to find in the Kia Sorento, this car's platform mate, by around 2 cubic feet. There's also a little bit of underfloor storage here, which is nice. You can hide a couple of things here. There's a jack. There's also a temporary spare tire that's located well underneath the rear bumper itself. If you want to fold down the third row, which you can see I have it folded down here, that expands the cargo to a little over 40.5 cubic feet. So 40.5 is around, I want to say 8 cubic feet more than the previous generation. And if you fold down all the rows, you can see this Calligraphy has the captain's chairs. You get a maximum of just under 80 cubic feet, around 79.8. That's around, again, a 6 cubic feet increase over the previous generation. This opening here, which again, Hyundai wanted this to be very practical. The opening is around 5 inches wider than the previous generation. So it's among the widest openings that you're going to find in the midsize SUV space. You can see the struts had to be kind of repositioned along with the taillights. And then if you guys are curious, when the tailgates open, this little area here actually turns into the taillight and the turn signal because that's for due to regulations. But overall, if you guys are looking for, impressive amounts of cargo space in the midsize SUV class, the Santa Fe is going to be among the best. So obviously on the outside of the new Santa Fe, the vehicle's design is very striking. It's going to turn a lot of heads, but what about the interior? This is where you're going to be spending most of your time in a family SUV. Now, before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the same newer style fob that we first saw on the Ioniq 6. You can see the key itself is basically egg-shaped. It's an intelligent access key, and when you flip it on its side, you'll actually notice it reveals the Hyundai logo, which is definitely a unique touch. I definitely noticed, however, that the key fob itself pretty easily shows scratches, which could be a problem for those of you who like to fling your key around. You don't have a cover over it. It has the usual buttons here for lock, unlock, remote start, and then panic function. Then you can see the upper trims also include the company's Smart Park feature, where you can pull the vehicle forward and back from the actual fob itself. You can also open up the liftgate from over here with the power liftgate function. It's overall a pretty nicely designed key. If you guys don't want to use this, you can also use your phone as a key. That's part of the digital key system 2.0, where you can basically use your phone to enter the vehicle, to start the vehicle up, to remote start the vehicle through the Hyundai app as well. So again, so many different technologies available to interact with this car. Now, as I approach the vehicle, you can see traditional door handles. So I applaud Hyundai for not doing any kind of like a pop-out door handle. If I touch this little area here, that's going to lock the door for you. The mirrors are also going to electrically fold in. The vehicle sadly does not have an auto walk-away lock or unlock feature, so I'm surprised that Hyundai hasn't had that, but as you can see, touch the back of the door handle, that will unlock the door for you. Now, looking at the interior, you can see the Serenity white exterior of my test car is complemented very nicely by this beige interior, where this is the premium Napa leather interior, Napa leather seats. You can see the door panel also has kind of like an olive green color combination, a two-tone color combination. So you have the beige, which to me looks more like a light gray, with the dark olive green or the army green color combination. In the sunlight, you can really tell and see the green, look of it, which I think is really unique, adds to the whole premium ambience. You can see you have a nice soft touch injection molded plastic here with faux stitching. This looks like wood. It's actually very beautiful looking, but it's actually not wood. It's just kind of like a sticker on some plastic trim. You can see this also looks like aluminum, but again, it's a silver painted alloy that has like the texture of aluminum, silver painted accented door handles. You have two-person memory, nice padded area here where you'd rest your elbows, and then the window controls have that high quality feel and touch, and they're also one touch for all four. You have storage cubbies over here. You have a 12-speaker Bose stereo system for you audiophiles out there, which sounds pretty good. The seats adjust in, I believe, 14 different ways, and it also has the relax function mode, where if you guys put it in the relax function mode, you can see push that, the seat will actually recline completely, and it also will give you kind of like a footrest as well. So Hyundai says this is a great mode to allow you to basically kick back, relax, and just kind of take a little nap if you guys are camping. So you can see in the relax mode, that's what the seat looks like. Again, this is only going to be usable, I believe, if the vehicle is in park. And then if you want, you can just push the setting there and it'll return it back to its home position. These seats are also heated and ventilated, which is definitely nice. Hyundai doesn't offer a massage feature like you would find in the Palisade, for example, but the leather material feels really nice and it gives you a great first impression. Now, getting inside, you can see, and it's a nice easy step-in height with around 7 inches of ground clearance. As I shut the door has a solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the new N3 architecture that they introduced about 3 years ago, something that it shares with the Kia Sorento. Now, start-stop button is located here, where you'd expect it to be. And then when you start the vehicle up, this model is not the hybrid or a mild hybrid, so it has a traditional starter noise, the traditional Hyundai chime. And then you can see this steering wheel looks very much like a Land Rover. In fact, the new Hyundai, Morse code emblem here, this one, however, doesn't light up like it does in the Ioniq 6. You have paddles on the wheel. This is for the camera that watches the driver's face for the driver monitoring system. This is the first Hyundai to actually get that camera, which leads me to believe that Hyundai will eventually be introducing their own hands-free driving assist system, where you can drive on the highway on certain interstates where it's mapped out without your hands. The company has not confirmed that, but this vehicle's Highway Driving Assist 2.0 will allow you to go hands-free, but not for the entire time, just for a couple of seconds. The steering wheel itself has a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment, which offers a good amount of adjustability and range. You have your usual buttons here to control the audio and cruise control functions. Audio is actually on this side here. And then your gear selector has been moved from here to this area, to this little stalk. So if I twist it toward me, that puts the vehicle into reverse. You can see that gives you the full 360 camera, which allows you to kind of do a full perimeter 360 scan, although the car in the photo is technically not the same trim as the Calligraphy that I'm actually showing you here. Different wheels, of course, but that again looks a lot like a Land Rover Defender. The graphics and the quality and the resolution looks good. This has automatic rear cross-driver braking, parking sensors and whatnot, so that's all features that you really appreciate in this class. You can see you have a padded dashboard on the upper portion here with the same faux stitching. It's basically the same from the door panel consistently over to the dashboard. There's more of that fake wood trim, which it's fake, but it looks fantastic. And I applaud Hyundai for not doing, piano black plastic trim. You have this big panoramic curved display. So all Santa Fe's will come with a 12.3-inch digital cluster here, or I'm sorry, instrument panel infotainment system. And then the limited and up trims will include the fully digital 12.3-inch cluster. The lower trims, so below the limited, will have a 4.2-inch display that's customizable, and then you'll have 2 analog dials, which kind of look a little more digital. But you can see with this trim, you also get the company's blind view camera. So if you signal right or left, it'll show you exactly what's in your blind spot, in addition to the blind spot monitoring. There's a fingerprint scanner here, which Hyundai said this is the first Hyundai vehicle to have the fingerprint scanner. This whole panel right here, I think, is just kind of wasted space. So I want Hyundai to do something over here to where they don't just put the fingerprint reader over here, but that basically allows the vehicle to kind of store your custom settings, gives you another measure of security. You can also start the vehicle up with just your fingerprint when you have it set up. So that's, again, all really cool features. You also have beautiful premium and upgraded ambient lighting in this vehicle. I'll have to wait until I get one back home to show you what it looks like, but you can actually see it in the bright sunlight where it's kind of going across the dash onto the even the door panels, which is pretty a nice touch. There's a 6.6-inch touchscreen for the climate control here, in addition to the 12.3-inch display. And you can see over here, my phone is connected wirelessly. So again, Hyundai finally has, added wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto along with over-the-air updates. My phone connected pretty seamlessly to this. The two displays kind of form together to create a 24-inch display, which looks fantastic. It's relatively easy to use. It's quick and snappy. And responsive and just pretty easy to master. There's also embedded GPS in the car as well if you guys prefer to use that, but most of you are probably going to be using the CarPlay function or the Android Auto function using the maps on your phone. You have dual zone climate control over here. You have actual knobs for volume and tuning, which I appreciate, actual hard buttons over here. Your drive mode selector is here. There's a total of 4 modes from normal, sport, snow, and my drive, so you can kind of customize my drive. It also gives you a slightly different look to the gauge display as well, or you can kind of lock it in a certain look through the actual menu structures here. You can also go into like your seat controls here and adjust how much heat you want and how much intensity you want from here. There's also a heated steering wheel, which, as you can see, the heated steering wheel button is here. In the touch-sensitive panel, you can see there's also your cooled seat control over here, your auto hold, there's your auto start stop defeat button, there's a 4-wheel drive lock feature here, which kind of locks it in 50-50, along with the actual camera button here. You can see over on the center stack, it has a new design, and this is where Hyundai decided to move the shifter from here to here that allows you to free up space for 2 wireless phone charging pads, which I love. You can see my iPhone 14 Pro Max fits perfectly, and Hyundai was also clever in the fact that this area here is actually raised and it's rubberized, so this isn't going to slide around. And my phone, as you can see, has a pretty thick case on it, but because of the raised area, I can actually set it on there and it will charge my phone reliably. So love that feature. Love how thoughtful Hyundai was. There's a little status bar there to let you know that it's charging. You have 2 USB-C charging cords. You can actually plug this one in to be the cord for it to connect to the infotainment system, or you can just do it for charging based on that. There's also in this little panel right here, you can open this up on the limited and up trims. This is actually a UVC compartment where you can put your phone or wallet in here, and it actually will sterilize your items using a UV ultraviolet light. So basically you put it in there, close it, push that button, and in 10 minutes, Hyundai says your phone or wallet or whatever will be sterilized. So again, that was all developed during COVID. Really nice feature to have for you germaphobes out there. You can see there's another storage shelf over here, more additional storage over here. You have 2 cup holders here, which are perfectly positioned, and they're infinitely adjustable, so you can easily put small cans in here to large drinking bottles, whatever you guys like to drink, of course. And then you can see this center console has a nice padded lid, and it has dual hinges, which means you can open it up the traditional way here, which is nice. But then the rear passengers can also access it from back here as well, which is a pretty cool touch. When you open it up, you can see pretty deep storage area. There's LED lighting, of course, and then if you lift this up, you can see it's actually an even deeper storage compartment. And then you probably also will notice there's another cubby here, which you can slide open for the rear passengers to access things. And then there's an additional hidden storage space in there that is completely covered. So really cool feature to have. I don't know what you're going to be putting in there to hide. I'm not going to say what I think people will be putting, but Again, very clever, and in a family vehicle, people are going to appreciate those kind of clever storage touches. You can see the seats. These are the premium Napa leather seats, which they feel really plush and soft. They have decent bolstering extension. The driver's side here adjusts in 12 different ways. It's also heated and ventilated, like I said. The leather material feels plush, and Hyundai really said that they redesigned the seats in this model to be even better on road trips, so that's really a nice plus. You can see the headliner also has this beautiful ultra suede material. This is only on the Calligraphy trims. You have LED map lighting here. You have the dual panel sunroof, which, as you can see, has a traditional manual shade. This also opens up as well. The second row, however, you can see has its own separate glass area, but it doesn't actually open to vent air. And if you want to close that, you have to control it via this little controller, or this little dial over here, which the rear seat passengers can't do. You have to only do it from the front seat area. But overall, the interior, lots to go over. Amazing material quality, great tech. You have a heads-up display as well that's included on this trim. It's a 12-inch heads-up display, and you also have a killer sound system. So overall, if you guys like the exterior, I think families are also going to really appreciate the thoughtfulness of the interior, all the tech, the premium materials, the impeccable build quality. I think Hyundai has basically pulled out the stops here to deliver a family car that most American families are going to appreciate. Now, moving to the backseat area of the Santa Fe Calligraphy. First of all, this particular one that I'm showing you obviously has captain's chairs. Now, captain's chairs are only included if you guys go for the Calligraphy trim. If you guys go for any other trim, you'll actually have a bench seat, so the Calligraphy will reduce the seating capacity from 7 to 6, which is, again, a difference versus the Palisade. The Palisade's third row will seat 3 people across. This will only seat 2 people across. You can see material quality back here has the same interesting, dark olive green color on the door panels. You have these manual retractable sunshades, which is nice for families. I believe that's included on the limited trim and up, more of that fake wood grain with the fake alloy trim. You do have heated seats back here, 3 levels. A nice padded area here, a little bit more storage, and then your cup holders are located in each of the door panel areas, which is nice. Although I imagine if kids put open glasses and open containers here, it'll probably spill everywhere when you do go to close the rear doors. The second row captain's chairs, you can see they are an interesting design because they almost look as nice as the front seat, although not quite as much bolstering. But what's interesting about them is they actually are power, so you can see it's a power recline, and you can also up the thigh cushion on this, which is definitely nice. It's not power to move forward and back. That's actually manual, so it's kind of like half power, half manual, and I'll show you why it's manual sliding when I go into the third row area. As I get in and get in, you can see the space back here is pretty nice. This is where I'd have the front seat to drive. Let me go ahead and close the door. The door has the same solid sounding thunk. That rattle was, of course, the bottle, the drink that's in the door panel. But you can see, slide this all the way back. This will reveal around 42.3 inches of legroom. 42.3 is among the best in the segment. It's pretty darn close to, honestly, what the Palisade offers in the second row. So that's all really nice. The floor here is not completely flat. There's a nice pass through here. Again, this is the only trim to get the captain's chairs. You have more of those Morse code rectangles or squares, I'm sorry, in the actual seat backs here, which kind of create the same light signature that you find in the front of the vehicle. Some hooks here for perhaps groceries or bags. You have 2 USB-C charging ports there. You have rear seat air vents located in the pillars here, and then you can see this is the area where I showed you before, where you can slide this out to put some things over here that also will create a hidden storage area for the actual console. You can see there's 2 storage cubbies here, and then if you guys want to adjust the seat, you can basically adjust the cushion up and down, and you can also adjust the recline, which is nice. In terms of the headroom space, you can see for somebody my height, there's plenty of headroom, actually. I mean, I was expecting this to take up space, but obviously if you guys are over 6 feet tall, that big boxy profile and the fact that the roof is 2 inches taller is going to give you even more interior space. So in terms of the second row, this is basically as nice as the front seat area, although again, you can't get features like the heated and ventilated second row seats like you can in the Palisade, but I wasn't expecting to find the heated seats back here or the sunshade. So again, that's all a very, very nice touch. But let's go ahead and hop into the third row of this vehicle, because I mentioned earlier the seat moves forward and back manually, and that's because Hyundai was thinking, obviously, if you want to get into the third row, we don't want to have to wait for this power mechanism to move forward and back. So that was very clever thinking on their part. And then once you get back here, you can see the third row area is also covered in the same nice leather. And let me go ahead and pull this seat back, push that button. You can see that will actually make the seat kind of come back. Now, when I did put the seat back, it didn't come back all the way. So this is with it, slightly slid up, which, as you can see, really affects the second row legroom space. This is with the seat, however, all the way back. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my butt over onto this side here. and show you guys the space. Now, first of all, the legroom space is actually not as bad as I thought. You can see my knees aren't jammed up against the actual second row seat back. And then in terms of headroom space, there's actually a pretty good amount because there's kind of like a little cutout here that allows for even more headroom space. I'm 5'7", so I'm not the tallest, but you know, Hyundai says there's around 30 inches of legroom back here. So the Palisade, I believe, offers around 32 inches of legroom, so it has a little bit less. But for somebody my height, I could actually sit back here on shorter trips and be relatively comfortable. Now, one thing that's also nice, these third row seats, they do offer a slight recline function. You have rear seat air vents, USB-C charging ports, and then what's interesting here is your rear air controls are actually located back here. So you can turn the rear AC on back here with the fan speed. You have another power outlet here along with your USB, your AC outlet over here, or your AC vent over here. There's dual cup holders on both sides. It's interesting to me that Hyundai put it here in the third row because, you know, not everyone's going to be using stuff or putting people back here in the third row, but I guess if you have pets back here, this will be nice to keep your, you know, your dog and whatnot cool back here. But overall, the third row is surprisingly spacious. But again, if you want more space or you want a vehicle that can carry 3 people in the third row, you're going to want to check out the Palisade. So here we are finally behind the wheel of the 2024 5th generation fully redesigned Hyundai Santa Fe. This has been a long time coming. I mean, this car, I was very impressed with the overall design when I first saw it in New Mexico about 7 months ago. And I have to say, the expectations are high. I mean, a car that looks this good, you're gonna expect it and hope that it drives really nicely. So the model that we're gonna be driving today is the Calligraphy with the gas powertrain. So we have a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with direct injection and the company's 8-speed wet dual clutch automatic transmission. We've tested this transmission before and this powertrain combination. The old Santa Fe did have this powertrain, but it loses about 4 horsepower, even though it has the same torque, thanks to different emissions tuning. So this is now rated as a super ultra low emissions vehicle. Previously, it was only on the hybrid powertrain, so that's the reason why it has slightly less power. First impressions are pretty good. The car feels very refined, relatively smooth. It also gives you a nice commanding view of the road. It also feels big. This vehicle's, you know, platform is now 2 inches wider. It's around 5 inches or 2 inches longer as well. And it also weighs around 500 pounds more. So that's pretty significant. And it's no surprise to me that Hyundai would discontinue the base naturally aspirated version of this engine because it just wouldn't have enough power to be able to, you know, push this thing around. It's a pretty heavy vehicle. But let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise. I have it in sport mode right now. We'll go ahead and brake torque it. And we just got 6.9 seconds. That's with it again on level ground. Brake torquing, it really doesn't do anything. This car, even though it has a dual clutch, it doesn't actually give you launch control, which is a little disappointing how it doesn't give you launch control. But 6.9 is a perfectly respectable time. It's about what I expected. I mean, this is a 4,500 pound vehicle, so it's certainly no featherweight. And you definitely feel that weight as you go around the corners. The suspension is tuned very softly for this vehicle, which is probably what the target audience is going to want. Sporting driving dynamics isn't going to be a big importance for this type of vehicle. And the engine itself, it has typical 4-cylinder noises. It doesn't sound all that fantastic, but it's not, you know, horrible in terms of noise. And Hyundai's done a good job with kind of just tuning it to not be super loud and super obnoxious. And I think that's going to be important when you're, you know, looking at this type of vehicle. But overall, put my foot down here, the all-wheel drive system as well in this car, it can send up to 50% of the torque, I believe, to the front or to the rear axle, depending on, of course, conditions. But overall, I think people are just going to get into this vehicle. You're going to put it into drive. It's going to do everything that you'd like. The dual clutch transmission is an interesting, you know, choice because most competitors either have a CVT or they have a traditional torque converter automatic. Hyundai chooses this dual clutch for efficiency and for power. Now, I won't be able to test out fuel economy until I get one for a week to test out. In my, you know, short drive on this event, it says it's been saying around 20 to 22 mpg, but again, this is a very short drive, so it's supposed to be able to do 28 on the highway. The hybrid model is going to be the one to get if you guys want, you know, over 30 mpg. Hyundai says that model should do 34 actually, which is pretty impressive. Plus, when you factor in the big fuel tank that this car has, you'll be looking at roughly almost 600 miles of cruising range, which is pretty astounding considering most vehicles in this class will likely do, you know, roughly 300 to 400 miles of range on a full tank, something like that. But overall, I like the way the car drives. Does it kind of match the styling of the SUV? Not really. I mean, if you guys were thinking this would drive like a bespoke luxury type vehicle like a Defender or like a G-Wagon, you're absolutely wrong there. This is still a unibody SUV with an all-independent suspension, no adaptive dampers in this car, but I'm impressed because it has these big 21-inch wheels, but at the same time, it still has a pretty good ride quality. Now, as I go around this corner here, you can feel the limits are pretty low. The body leans pretty heavily. Man, check out that gorgeous house over here. I'm actually out here in Franklin, Tennessee, and some of the houses here are fantastic, but off track there, but I mean, it's not sporty. You feel the weight going around the corners. It doesn't feel top heavy, no, but if you guys are comparing this car to like a Subaru Outback is gonna feel considerably more nimble and more car-like. And I think that's kind of what people in this segment really like, is the fact that the Outback does have that car-like feel, which could be a deal breaker for some. I wanna see what we can get 0 to 60 wise here really quick, just flooring it. Wow, 6.7 seconds there, and that's with it more going slightly downhill, so although it's still not that much downhill. So 6.7, we'll take that as the best time, which is not bad. That's really not bad in terms of acceleration. I'll be curious to know what the hybrid gets, because the hybrid is going to have almost a little over 40 horsepower less versus this turbocharged engine. It'll also have a 6-speed automatic, but I think for the majority of people, they're probably going to get into this, and it's going to have just perfectly acceptable acceleration. If you guys plan to tow, this is also the model that's going to get, you know, that better towing figure. But in terms of just the rest of the drive, I'll switch the drive mode back here into its normal setting. The steering gets a little bit lighter. It does have an auto start stop feature, and I noticed that it's a little bit jerky at times, and that's because this doesn't have any kind of mild hybrid. Hyundai's not doing the mild hybrid thing. That's something that Genesis has in the G90, for example, but of course this is, you know, further down the totem pole. But the seats are also pretty comfortable. I can see out of the vehicle pretty well. The pillars here are pretty thin. I also have this really nice digital camera rearview mirror if I choose to use that, which is also a nice touch. Let's go ahead and test out the turning radius here, which actually isn't too bad. Even though we're on these big 21-inch wheels, you can make U-turns pretty well. And then when you're just driving it normally, the transmission really doesn't make itself known. It has these smooth, quick shifts. And for the most part, if I put my foot down, the transmission does a good job at just picking the right gear. Although there were times where I was like in traffic and I was trying to pass somebody last minute where it did kind of stumble a couple times, but that's kind of under rare conditions. I also love the blind view camera system that you get with this trim. But overall, I think it was the right choice for Hyundai to get rid of the naturally aspirated engine. You can technically still get that engine in a Kia Sorento. Remember, the two vehicles share the same architecture, although they just look completely different. But overall, I like the way the Santa Fe drives. It's not the sportiest, but it is among the most comfortable. And it has a decent amount of power. It has comfortable seats. It has a relatively quiet interior. It has really good tech. It has good space. It's easy to see out of. So as a family car, Hyundai pretty much nailed the key points that I think most people are going to be looking for. But again, if you're an enthusiast or you were thinking this would drive more like a special vehicle, you're going to have to spend easily twice the amount of money to get that Land Rover, or 3 times that money to get that G-Wagon. So when I first had a chance to see the all-new Santa Fe about 7 months ago in New Mexico, I was simply blown away. I mean, obviously we saw pictures of this car when it was first revealed to the Korean market, and we knew that Hyundai had an ace up their sleeves, because this vehicle here is the company's first SUV ever, and it's a very important model, especially when you look at the sales figures, because last year Hyundai managed to sell around 131,500 Santa Fe's in the States, which made it the best sales year ever for the Santa Fe in the US in its near 25-year history. It also means that this was the third best-selling Hyundai vehicle in America, right behind, of course, the Tucson and the Elantra. Although when this new generation really ramps up in terms of production and the hybrid model comes out, I wouldn't be surprised to see this vehicle overtake the Elantra and perhaps even nip at the sales figures of the Tucson. We are expecting Hyundai to show a refreshed Tucson potentially for the 2025 model year. But after spending the day driving and taking a look at the new Santa Fe Calligraphy trim, I am simply impressed with the overall package. In terms of the driving dynamics, this vehicle is definitely not sporty, but it's also incredibly comfortable. The 2.5-liter turbo engine is the well-matched partner for the additional size of this vehicle. The one thing I did notice, however, while the ride quality is smooth, the interior is quiet, it definitely feels a lot bigger and wider versus the previous generation. You get a sense that you're piloting around a vehicle that's a size class above. In fact, this car to me feels a little bit larger versus the last Palisade I drove, which is interesting because the Palisade is around 6 inches longer, like I said, with a 4-inch longer wheelbase. They are technically designed for a different audience. The 2.5-liter engine offers enough power for most people. Sadly, during this event, I wasn't able to drive the hybrid since they had a hybrid here, but it was an early prototype, and Hyundai said that the hybrid will be beginning production in either April or May, and then in dealerships shortly after that. And I'm hoping at that time I'll be able to drive the hybrid powertrain in general. But really, the 2.5 turbo engine should have enough power for most people. The 8-speed automatic, while it isn't always the smoothest transmission, it definitely results in better acceleration and quicker and better fuel efficiency, which obviously matters to people looking in this space. The XRT version also gives you that additional seating, ground clearance, which also gives you a better commanding view of the road. But really, I think people are going to appreciate the fact that this car is quiet, it's spacious, but again, if you're looking for something sportier, there are definitely better options out there. Take a look at Mazda, for example. They feel a lot more like for a driving enthusiast. The interior itself is also really well done. Love the new infotainment system with the 12.3-inch display. Wireless CarPlay is now a thing. The second row captain's chairs are also extremely comfortable. The third row is usable for average size adults. If you need more space, Hyundai will happily sell you a Palisade, and it'll also give you more cargo room. And really, if you guys are looking to put a new Santa Fe in your driveway, this is where this car is going to cost you a pretty penny, because all this new technology, standard turbo power, and the standard third row and the larger size means that this car is around $5,000 more expensive than the previous generation. For the base SE with front-wheel drive, that's going to start at around $33,900. So again, that's $5,000 more than the previous generation. If you guys want all-wheel drive, it'll cost you around $1,800. If you guys want the hybrid powertrain, that'll cost you around $500, but it starts at the SEL trim, so the hybrid in general really starts at just under $37,000. Now, compared to the hybrid of the previous generation, the price delta is not that much, and that's because there's a new front-wheel drive variant of the hybrid, which the old generation didn't offer that. So really the price delta is almost $3,000 more. This fully loaded Calligraphy trim is also around $5,000 more than the previous generation. As equipped, this model here in the Serenity White with the destination charge comes in at around $50,320. I know $50,000 for a Santa Fe puts it within spitting distance of a Palisade, which some of you may just wonder, why don't I just get a Palisade? But again, the two vehicles are designed for two different buyers, and I do think there is room within Hyundai's portfolio for 2 3-row SUVs. And really, if you guys want something unique that really blends, the style of a German car with a, British car, but with the reliability and build quality and the excellent warranty that you get with a Korean car, you should definitely put the new Santa Fe at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this brand new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe Calligraphy. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.